So good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so today we will learn some bond parameters. Okay, we will learn some bond parameters. Today we will learn some bond parameters. So in our previous class, we have learned in detail regarding covalent bonding. Okay, so that covalent bonds are characterized by certain parameters, just like bond length is there, then bond angle is there, bond enthalpy energy is there, bond order is there. So we will learn in detail today regarding those parameters. So you can say the first parameter is bond length. So what is bond length? The average distance between the centers of the nuclei of two bonded atoms in a molecule. Okay, that means the average distance between the center of the nuclei of two bonded atoms in a molecule. Let's see. Suppose this is one atom of a molecule and this is one atom of another molecule. Now these are the center. These are the center. Now the distance between the center, if I see, so this is, suppose this portion is RA and this portion is RB. That means the distance between the average distance between the centers of the nuclei. So this is the nuclei. So the bond length, capital R, will be RA plus RB. So this R is actually the bond length. The R is actually the bond length. Okay. So this RA and RB are what? They are the covalent radii. This RA and RB are the covalent radii of molecule A and B. Suppose this is A and this is B. This RA and RB the covalent radii. So the sum of the covalent radii of the atom bonded in a molecule is known as bond length. Clear? Bond length, regarding bond length, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, bond length usually expressed in terms of angstrom units. Okay, so 1 angstrom is equals to 10 to the power minus 10 meter, or by picometers. Okay, that means 1 picometer, 1 pm is equals to 10 to the power minus 10 meter. Sorry, 10 to the power minus 12 it will be. Picometer will be 12. The angstrom will be 10 to the power minus 10 meter, whereas picometer will be 10 to the power minus 12 meter. So bond length usually expressed in terms of angstrom or picometer. Okay, so this is the bond length. This is the bond length expressed in terms of covalent radii. Okay, now van der Waals radii. So what are van der Waals radii? Okay, so van der Waals radius. So the van der Waals radius represents the overall size of the atom. Van der Waals radii actually represent overall size of the atom. It represents the overall size of the atom, okay, which includes its valence shell in non-bonding situation. So that means total size of the atom, including its that means valence shell when it is in non-bonded position. That is that size will be expressed in terms of van der Waals radii. So covalent radii is also there. Van der Waals radii is also there. Okay. So this is actually the bond length one. Now, the next topic is factors affecting bond length. Okay. Factors affecting bond lengths. So number one is bond multiplicity. Okay, bond multiplicity. That means if bond multiplicity increases, the bond length decreases. That means if I consider it, that means in case of triple bond, okay, in case of triple bond, the bond length, in case of triple bond, the bond length is less, and in case of single bonded molecule, the bond length will be high. So that means if bond multiplicity multiplicity increases, then bond length will be decreased. Let's take one example. Just like if we see C triple bond C, the bond length in case of bond length in case of C single bond C is much higher than that of C triple bond C. Bond multiplicity if increases, bond length will be decreases. Okay, now next topic, next factor which actually affect the bond length, that is size of the atom. That is the size of the atom. So obviously, if the size of the atom increases, bond length will have to be increased. Okay, if size increases, bond length also increases. Can anyone explain why? So obviously, if the size of the atom increases, means what? The distance between the nucleus and the valence shell will become high. Okay, the distance between the nucleus and between the suppose this is a molecule, this is an atom, and the nucleus and the valence distance, and this is the atom, the nucleus and the valence distance. Obviously, which one is big? Obviously, this one, as it is in bigger in size, so obviously bond length will also have to be bigger. So if the size of the atom increases, bond length increases. Like in case of carbon-carbon, bond length is smaller than silicon-silicon, and is much smaller than germanium. Clear? Boys and girls, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, our next topic is bond angle. What is bond angle? The average angle between the orbitals containing bonding electrons pairs around the central atom around the central atom in a molecule. The average angle between the orbitals containing bonding electron pairs around the central atom of a molecule. Let's see the bond angle. Suppose in case of water, the bond angle is what? Between these two, hydrogen and oxygen, the bond angle is 104.5 degree. If we consider ammonia, the bond angle between these two hydrogen is 107.5 degree. Okay, so this is the examples of bond angle. That means the main thing is that the angle between the two bonds, which is attached with the central atom, that is known as bond angle. Clear the concept of bond angle, everyone? Tarak, Shoham, Tarak is not Shoham, Ankona, Abhishek, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now next is bond enthalpy. Our next topic is bond enthalpy. Bond enthalpy is actually the amount of energy required. Okay. The amount of energy required to break 1 mole of bonds of a particular type between the atoms and obviously in the gaseous state. Obviously in the gaseous state. The amount of energy required to break 1 mole of bonds in the gaseous state. Like bond enthalpy for hydrogen gas. For hydrogen gas, bond enthalpy is when a hydrogen gas is break down to hydrogen atoms, the energy which is required to break the bond is equals to 35.8 kilojoule per mole. So that means huge amount is required to break the hydrogen bond from hydrogen molecule. Clear? Bond enthalpy. Bond enthalpy is mainly the amount of energy required to break one bond. The amount of energy required to break one mole, the bonds of 1 mole of a substance in gaseous state. Now, factors in which bond enthalpy depends. Okay, now factors. The first is size of the bonded atoms. Okay, size of the bonded atoms. Obviously, if the atoms are smaller in size, okay, if the atoms are smaller in size, the force of attraction between the atoms will be quite high, and their bond length will also be small. And when the bond length is small, so obviously the strength of the bond is high. So obviously we have to give more energy to break the bond. Whereas in case of, if the size of the atom are quite big, the bond length will also high. And obviously the amount of energy required, that is less to break the bond. Okay, just like hydrogen-hydrogen bond. To break this to break hydrogen gas into hydrogen atom, it requires 435.8 kilojoule per mole. Whereas to break chlorine-chlorine bond, it's required only 443.5 kilojoule per mole. Because size of the chlorine is much bigger than hydrogen. Okay, the bond length is quite big, and its bond length is quite big. The strength of the bond is weak than that of hydrogen, so it can be easily broke down. Okay, so that means if size increases, we can say bond dissociation enthalpy decreases. Okay, if size increases, then bond dissociation enthalpy decreases. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now next is bond length. So obviously, if shorter the bond length, okay, larger will be the value of bond enthalpy. If bond length is shorter, okay, bond enthalpy will be large. Now only we have discussed. Just like carbon-carbon bond length is 154 picometer. Whereas carbon double bond length is 134 picometer. So for carbon-carbon bond length, to break this bond, okay, it's required 433 kilojoule per mole. To break carbon-carbon double bond, 690, okay, 619 kilojoule per mole energy required. So obviously, if bond length is become shorter, bond enthalpy will be larger. Clear? Boys and girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the next topic is average bond enthalpy. Next is average bond enthalpy. Let's take one example. Suppose water. So when we apply heat for the first time, it forms H plus OH. For this one, the bond enthalpy, suppose 502 kilojoule per mole. And when this OH again break down to form H plus O, the bond in that energy required to break that bond, it's become 427 kilojoule per mole. That means we have to supply 2 times energy. First, water break down to hydrogen plus OH, then the OH further break down to hydrogen and oxygen. So that's why 2 different energy required. Now we have to calculate for that the average bond enthalpy. So average bond enthalpy will become 502 plus 427 by 2, that is 464.5 kilojoule per mole. Okay, so that means 464.5 kilojoule per mole will require to break down one water molecule. To break down one water molecule, 464.5 kilojoule energy required. So when we are considering the molecule, okay, molecule where 2 or 3 different atoms are bonded together, that time we have to use average bond enthalpy. Clear? Just a second. Now next is bond order. Next is bond order. What is bond order? Bond order is the number of bonds between the 2 atoms of a molecule. So bond order is the number of bonds between 2 atoms in a molecule. Okay, the number of bonds between 2 atoms in a molecules are bond order. Just like if I consider, suppose oxygen. So oxygen are 2 oxygen atom are bonded by double bond. So obviously its bond order will be 2. If we consider hydrogen gas, so that means hydrogen, 2 hydrogen atom are bond with a single bond. So obviously here bond order will be 1. Okay, clear? So with the increase in the bond order, if bond order increases, bond enthalpy increases. Bond enthalpy increases as well as bond length decreases. When bond order increases, bond enthalpy also increases, and bond order will be, when bond order increase, bond enthalpy will increase, bond length will be decreases. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so bond, that means bond length we have learned today, bond length. Then we have learned bond angle, then bond, that means enthalpy, and the last parameter is our bond order. These are the 4 things we have learned. Next, the next topic which we learned today, that is resonance. That is resonance. So actually, I will explain you resonance with the help of a diagram of O3, that is ozone molecule. So according to the Lewis structure, we can draw ozone like this. The central atom will have two lone pair. Okay, central atom have two, that means one pair of one lone pair electrons, and this atom has two, and this atom has three. We can draw the structure like this also. We can draw the structure this like also. Yes or no? So if we consider the bond length is for oxygen, double bond oxygen, it's become 121 picometer, and for oxygen, when two oxygen atoms are single bonded, then the bond length become 148 picometer. Here is also this one, 121 picometer, and here 148 picometer. But experimentally, it was found that, okay, experimentally it has been found that the oxygen-oxygen bond length in ozone molecule is 128 picometer. Experimentally, it has been found. Why this has happened? So then it was observed that the actual structure of oxygen, and that means oxygen actual structure in case of ozone will be like this. It has a resonating structure. It has a resonating structure, and then if I consider the bond length, sorry, then the oxygen bond length in ozone become 128 picometer. Okay, so so when a molecule, so what is resonance actually? So when a molecule cannot be represented by a single structure, its characteristics properties can be described by two or more than two structures, then the actual structure is said to be resonance hybrid of the structure. So this is known as resonance hybrid. This structure is known as resonance hybrid structure, because this structure is also not properly correct. This structure is also not properly correct. Okay, so that means it cannot be, the structure of O3 cannot be explained by those above those two structure. Okay, and its total property can be described by these structures, this resonance hybrid structure. So this is known as resonance. Okay, clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let's see one more resonating structure of suppose carbonate ion. Carbonate ion, that is CO3 2- carbonate ion. So it can be explained by this structure. Then see okay, and we have to go to the next page, and it can be explained by like this. Okay, so both the structures are correct. This structure is also correct, this structure is also correct, this structure is also correct. So carbonate ion can be expressed by all these three structures. So these all are the resonating structure. These all are the resonating structure. Okay, clear? In this way, we have to represent the resonating structure. Let's take one more example, like SO3 molecule. Suppose SO3 molecule. So SO3 molecule can be expressed by this one. Okay, so we can explain, we can actually write the SO3 molecule structure like this. So it has three resonating structure. Okay, so resonance, regarding the resonance idea, regarding what is resonance, you have the clear idea. So your homework will be you have to draw the resonating structure for SO2 and NO2 minus ions. NO2 minus ion and SO2. You will draw the resonating structure for SO2 and NO2 minus ion. This will be your homework.